Want to bring in our panel, Kelly Jane Torrance, a Weekly Standard Deputy Managing Editor, and Peter Brookes, Heritage National Security Affairs Fellow. Kelly Jane, I was riveted by your comments while you were at the gathering here 2 weeks ago, I think, with respect to Iran, what's happening in Iran, and there was even a plot to to blow that whole thing up, and you were right in the middle of it. What do you make of what's happened in the last 24 hours, and where do you think we're heading?
Yeah, I'm really glad you asked about that, Charles. And I was also really glad to see that Secretary Pompeo actually made a reference to that plot in his speech. You know, there was at one point when he said, "This tells you everything you need to know about this regime." And it was after he mentioned that there was a terror plot at the Free Iran gathering that I was at in Paris, hosted by the National Council of Resistance of Iran. 2 people were arrested in Belgium and 1 person arrested in Germany. The guy arrested in Germany is an Iranian diplomat. So the regime's hands are all over this. And I have to tell you, I mean, think of everyone who would have been killed there. And it's not just, I mean, the woman, it was a married couple who was going to do this, and she had enough explosives in her makeup case to kill a lot of people. So you had the resistance there. They were targeting them, but not just them. Some of the speakers there, Rudy Giuliani, Newt Gingrich, these are people, of course, familiar to your viewers, as well as us journalists who were there.
Right.
And it does say everything you need to know about the regime. This regime, it's not enough for them to control freedom of expression in their own country. They want to control it everywhere. They don't want people anywhere around the world talking about how bad things are in Iran. And really, the fact that a diplomat that was, they say, a member of the security service is the one who commissioned this bomb plot. And so really there's no question why people like Mike Pompeo, John Bolton, and Donald Trump are concerned about Iran. They are a threat not just to their own people, but to people all over the world.
Peter, then why isn't Europe acting like they're such a threat? I mean, they have really pushed back hard against us getting out of the Iranian nuclear deal. The ambassador just mentioned that he thinks ultimately they'll come around. But just the fact that they haven't sided with us with the obvious that's going on with Iran and their nuclear ambitions, the belligerence that we've seen on full display since they've got those pallets of cash. Why do you think our allies haven't been by our side on this?
Well, there's economic interests. We know that. They're not huge, but there are economic interests, including energy security interests. They also don't feel, Charles, as threatened as we do by an Iranian nuclear weapons program. You mentioned the Paris plot. Obviously, we've seen that sort of problems with Iran and Europe for quite some time, but they don't feel as threatened as we do in terms of their nuclear and ballistic missile program. So that's why I think they're not really with us. But they're going to have to get on board because the sanctions are going to snap back. Some of them are going to start since we got out of the nuclear deal in August, I think August 6th. And then on oil and natural gas, it's going to snap back in November.
Right.
And then they will also, companies will get secondary sanctions against them if they decide to do business in Iran, especially through the U.S. banking system.
Kelly Jane, I don't have a lot of time, less than a minute, but please tell me about the turmoil or the budding revolution within Iran. Any chance that this can really go further than anything we've seen before?
I do think so, Charles. The fact that every segment of society, every demographic is involved in this. And just last night, you had truck drivers again protesting. I mean, everybody. And these are the people that are really the backbone of the economy. And so it's not just intellectuals and, political people like you saw in 2009. This is everyone, and it's all across the country. And despite the fact that the regime has killed dozens of people who are protesting, they are not stopping. And that, I think, Charles, is when you see a revolution about to happen.
I'm hearing great things with respect to people standing up for themselves against huge dangers. Thank you both very much. Always appreciate your expertise. Folks, we'll be right back.